In today's story, an employee is publicly promoted into a job she never applied for and discovers why her boss needs her signature immediately. Before we begin, settle in and enjoy tonight's story. My boss announced my promotion before I had applied. My boss announced my promotion during the Monday morning briefing in front of 43 people before I had applied for anything. He waited until the warehouse supervisors, account managers, planners, and office staff were all standing around the loading bay screen. Then he smiled at me and said, "And finally, I'm pleased to confirm that Claire will be stepping into the role of Regional Compliance Manager, effective immediately." Everyone applauded. I did not. I was holding a clipboard with 3 missing driver reports on it, and for several seconds, I assumed there had to be another Claire somewhere behind me. Then my boss, Daniel, extended his hand. "Come on," he said, "you've earned it." I shook his hand because 43 people were watching. Someone from payroll shouted, "Drinks are on you." Daniel laughed. I tried to. The problem was that I had never applied for the role. I had never been interviewed for it. Until that moment, I had not even known the position existed. I was an operations coordinator at a regional haulage company. My job was to keep customer deliveries, driver availability, depot capacity, and vehicle maintenance from colliding with each other. I was good at it, but compliance was a different department. It dealt with drive-hour regulations, vehicle inspections, insurance reporting, supplier standards, and contracts that could expose the company to serious penalties if they were mishandled. Daniel was the regional director. He controlled hiring, budgets, and disciplinary recommendations. He also had a talent for making decisions sound inevitable after he had already made them. As the applause died, he leaned closer and said, "Come to my office at 10. We'll get the paperwork sorted." That was when I realized this was not a joke or a mistaken announcement. He expected me to sign something. My boss announced my promotion in front of 43 people before I had applied for the job. Everyone applauded while I stood there holding a clipboard, trying to work out whether he had confused me with someone else. Then he shook my hand and whispered, "Come to my office at 10. We'll get the paperwork sorted." At 9:20, I received an email from Human Resources congratulating me. Attached were a revised contract, a new salary, and a job description dated the previous Friday. The salary was £18,000 more than I was earning. The title came with a company car allowance, private health cover, and direct access to the executive reporting system. It was the kind of increase people normally competed for. I should have been thrilled. Instead, I opened the job description and searched for the words "responsible for." They appeared 17 times. Responsible for regional regulatory submissions, responsible for contractor compliance, responsible for historical reporting accuracy, responsible for certification of fleet transition documentation. That final phrase meant nothing to me. I searched the company intranet for fleet transition and found a project called North Star. North Star was supposed to replace 36 older diesel vehicles with least low-emission models. It had been announced 6 months earlier as a major efficiency program. Daniel had given presentations about it, and the company newsletter had shown him standing beside one of the new lorries. I knew the project existed, but it had never touched my work directly. The revised contract said I would assume responsibility for North Star compliance from project initiation. Not from the date of my promotion, from the beginning. At 10, Daniel closed his office door and pushed a printed copy of the contract toward me. "Good package," he said. "It is. You've been underpaid for years. That may be true." He smiled, then tapped the final page with a silver pen. I did not pick it up. "I didn't apply for this. You didn't need to. I nominated you. Was there an interview process? This is an internal appointment. We can move quickly. Why compliance? You understand operations better than anyone. Compliance has become too disconnected from the real work." That answer was plausible. It was also the kind of answer Daniel gave when he wanted a conversation to end. I asked why the contract made me responsible for North Star from project initiation. He barely glanced at the page. Standard continuity language. "It seems unusual to make me responsible for documents created before I held the position. "You're not being blamed for anything, Claire. You're being given authority." He slid the pen closer. I told him I wanted 2 days to review the contract. His expression changed so slightly that I might have missed it if I had not spent 4 years watching him handle delayed customers. The smile remained, but his eyes stopped participating. "Of course," he said, "though payroll closes today, then the salary can start next month. It would be a shame to lose the uplift. I'll survive." He leaned back and folded his hands. "There's an executive review on Wednesday. It would be helpful to present a settled management structure." There it was, a deadline. I took the contract but left the pen. When I returned to my desk, my access permissions had already changed. A new folder had appeared in the document system, Regional Compliance. Inside were hundreds of files. Most were ordinary inspection reports, insurance certificates, and contractor records. The North Star folder was different. It contained spreadsheets, supplier declarations, emissions documentation, lease agreements, and monthly progress reports. The reports all listed the Regional Compliance Manager as the approving officer. There had not been a Regional Compliance Manager before that morning. The name field was blank in most documents. In the latest report, it contained my name. The document had been created 3 weeks earlier. I checked the metadata twice. Created 14 July. Author, Daniel Mercer. Approving officer, Claire Bennett. At first, I thought he might have prepared it in anticipation of promoting me. That would still have been inappropriate, but not necessarily sinister. Then I opened the previous month's report. My name was there too. So was an electronic approval code linked to my employee number. I had never seen the document before. I called it and asked whether approval codes could be entered manually. The technician said the codes were generated automatically when someone approved a document through the compliance portal. Could someone approve it using another employee's account? I asked. Not without their password and authentication token. What if the document was imported from another system? There was a pause. Then the code could just be text, so it might look like a real approval without being one. If someone deliberately formatted it that way, yes. 10 minutes later, Daniel appeared beside my desk. He did not normally come onto the operations floor unless a customer was visiting. "Settling in?" he asked. I found reports with my name on them. His expression did not change. "We started preparing the transition early. One of them says I approved it last month. That will be a template issue. It includes my employee number. Speak to it." I did. That irritated him. He lowered his voice. "Claire, this is exactly why I need someone capable in the role. The files are a mess. Clean them up." Then he walked away. His answer gave me my first clear question. Was I being promoted to fix a mess or to inherit one? I spent the afternoon reading North Star documents instead of doing my normal work. The project had been sold to the board on 3 promises: reduced fuel costs, lower maintenance costs, and eligibility for an environmental transport rebate. The rebate was worth almost £900,000. To qualify, the company had to prove that the new vehicles had replaced older units rather than merely expanding the fleet. It also had to document minimum annual mileage and confirm that the vehicles met a particular emissions certification. The files claimed all 36 vehicles had been delivered and placed into service. Our dispatch system showed only 28. I checked the maintenance platform. It listed 29. The lease invoices charged us for 36. 8 vehicles were missing from operations but present in the financial records. I searched their registration numbers. 4 belonged to vehicles working from another region. 2 had never appeared in our systems. The final 2 were listed as active at our depot on dates when satellite tracking showed no movement at all. At 4:30, someone from finance messaged me, "Congratulations again. Daniel said you need to certify the North Star pack before Wednesday. Let me know when it's done." I asked what would happen on Wednesday. "Board audit committee," she replied. "External advisors joining, apparently routine." Routine audits did not normally require a brand new manager to accept historical responsibility 48 hours beforehand. I copied the key files to an encrypted company-approved archive connected to my account. I also downloaded the document access log. That was my first consequential mistake. At 5:12, my account was locked, not just the compliance folder, everything, email, dispatch, payroll portal, and building access. My manager called me before I could call it. "What did you download?" Daniel asked. "Files assigned to my new role. You triggered a security alert." "Why would compliance reports trigger a security alert? You exported sensitive financial records to the approved archive. You were not authorized to create an offline copy." "It isn't offline. That's not the point." He told me to remain at my desk while he contacted it. 20 minutes later, he returned with the head of HR. They took me into a meeting room with glass walls. Daniel placed a printed security report on the table. It showed that I had downloaded 184 files in under 6 minutes. That was true. I had selected the North Star folder and copied it as a single operation. HR asked why. I explained the missing vehicles, the reports carrying my name, and the electronic approval codes. Daniel looked genuinely disappointed. "Claire has been under significant pressure recently," he said. I stared at him. He continued. "She was passed over for an operations management vacancy in March. I believed this promotion would demonstrate our confidence in her, but perhaps I moved too quickly." The HR manager turned toward me with the careful expression people use when they think they are being neutral. "Were you unhappy about the March appointment?" I disagreed with it. "That has nothing to do with fabricated approvals." Daniel sighed. "No one fabricated anything. Draft reports were prepared using Claire's details because she was the intended compliance lead. They were never submitted. Finance had just told me I needed to certify the pack before the audit. I said so." Daniel replied immediately. "Certify the current pack, yes, not the historical drafts." He had an answer ready for everything. HR restored my access, but instructed me not to download or alter any North Star documentation until Wednesday's review. I was also told to work from home the following day while the security alert was examined. As I left the building, my access card worked again. But when I opened the compliance folder from home, the 2 reports containing my approval code were gone. The document access log was gone too. Daniel had not needed to accuse me of anything. He only needed to make me look unstable before I could accuse him. The following morning, I received the formal promotion offer again. This version contained a new clause. By signing, I confirmed that I had reviewed the compliance files and accepted responsibility for their accuracy. The deadline was noon. I did not sign. Instead, I called the person who had held responsibility for fleet compliance before the new role was invented. Her name was Ruth, and she had left the company 5 months earlier. I remembered her as quiet, precise, and permanently tired. Daniel had told us she resigned for family reasons. When I found her number in an old emergency contact spreadsheet, I expected her to refuse to speak. She answered on the second ring. The moment I mentioned North Star, she said, "Do not sign anything." I asked what had happened. She told me North Star had originally involved 28 vehicles. The supplier later offered a rebate if the company expanded the lease to 36. Daniel approved the change before confirming whether the additional vehicles met the environmental program's conditions. They did not. 4 were allocated to another region. 2 existed only as reserved chassis numbers. 2 had been delivered to a subcontractor that was technically ineligible under the rebate rules. Ruth had refused to certify the application. A week later, Daniel placed her on a performance improvement plan. He said my record keeping was obstructing the project, she told me. Then he started sending reports with my name already attached. "What did you do?" "I kept copies." My pulse quickened. "Do you still have them?" "No, they were on a company laptop. HR collected it during my final meeting." "Why did you leave?" There was a long silence. "I didn't resign," she said. "I signed a settlement agreement." The woman who handled fleet compliance before me answered the phone and said, "Do not sign anything." She told me she had refused to certify the same project 5 months earlier. A week later, my boss put her on a performance plan. Then he began circulating reports with her name already attached. That changed the apparent story. I had assumed Daniel needed a convenient employee to inherit a failing project. He had already tried the same method on Ruth. The promotion was not improvised damage control. It was a process. Ruth could not share confidential documents because of her settlement, but she gave me one useful detail. Every formal approval generated an automated notification from a separate compliance mailbox. Daniel could edit reports, remove files, and rewrite folder histories, but he could not alter messages already delivered to individual inboxes. I searched my email archive for North Star. There were no approval notifications. That supported my claim, but it did not prove who had added my name. Then I searched Ruth's old shared mailbox, which I could access because operations had inherited several of her reporting functions. Most of it had been wiped after her departure. One folder remained, delivery failures. Inside was an automated notification from 6 months earlier. North Star monthly report approved by Daniel Mercer. The attached version of the report named Ruth as the approving officer, but the notification identified Daniel's actual account. He had approved the document himself, then changed the visible name. The approval system recorded the account separately from the document text. That was the kind of evidence I needed. I forwarded the notification to my encrypted corporate archive and printed a copy. At 11:40, Daniel called. "You haven't signed. I'm reviewing the files. You were told not to access North Star." I searched an operational mailbox. "You are creating a disciplinary issue where none existed. There are 8 vehicles in the rebate application that are not operating here." He became quiet. Then he said, "Come in. I was instructed to work from home. That instruction has changed." When I arrived, my access card failed again. A receptionist let me through and directed me to the executive meeting room. Daniel was waiting with HR and the company's internal legal counsel. A copy of the promotion contract sat at my seat. Daniel spoke first. "We need to resolve this constructively." I placed my bag under the table. "I agree." He said the North Star records contained administrative inconsistencies caused by staff turnover. He said the company needed a qualified manager to reconcile them before the rebate submission. He said my promotion reflected confidence in my ability to do that. Then legal counsel said something different. She told me the rebate application had already been submitted 3 weeks earlier. The same week Daniel created the report containing my name. I asked who had certified it. She looked at Daniel. He said, "The submission was provisional." "That isn't what I asked." "You're becoming confrontational." "Whose name is on the submitted application?" No one answered. That was when I understood the real purpose of Wednesday's audit. The board was not reviewing whether to submit the rebate. It was reviewing a submission already made. Someone had used my details before I had been appointed, and Daniel needed my signed contract to make the timeline look legitimate. I took out the printed approval notification. Daniel's confidence slipped for the first time, only briefly. Then he leaned back and said, "You were not authorized to retain that." It was in a mailbox assigned to my role. It contains confidential information relating to a former employee. It shows that you approved a report and then replaced the visible approver's name. HR asked to see it. Daniel put his hand over the page. "This meeting is finished." Legal counsel disagreed. "No," she said, "it is." For several seconds, nobody moved. Then Daniel removed his hand. HR read the notification. Legal counsel asked me where I found it and whether I had altered it. I explained the mailbox, the archive, and the missing reports. Daniel recovered quickly. He said the name replacement had been an administrative correction because Ruth had prepared the underlying work. He said the system often displayed the account of the person who uploaded the document rather than the person professionally responsible for it. That explanation was technically possible. It was also exactly why one notification would not be enough. Legal counsel adjourned the meeting and told me not to discuss the matter with anyone. My access was suspended again, this time formally, pending an investigation. Daniel walked me to the exit. At the security doors, he said, "You could have had a very good career here." I looked at him. He added, "You still can. Sign the contract, correct the records, and stop turning ordinary administrative problems into accusations. You put my name on a government rebate application. You cannot prove that." He was right, not yet. That afternoon, the company emailed me a disciplinary invitation alleging unauthorized data extraction, breach of confidentiality, and refusal to follow a reasonable management instruction. The hearing was scheduled for Thursday, one day after the audit. Daniel's countermove was simple. If I was dismissed for misconduct, any accusation I made afterwards could be framed as retaliation. I needed evidence from outside the document system he controlled. I went back through my own operational records. Although North Star had been managed separately, every vehicle entering service eventually generated secondary traces: fuel card requests, depot parking allocations, driver familiarization sessions, maintenance schedules, and insurance notifications. The 8 questionable vehicles produced an odd pattern. They appeared in the compliance reports, but not in the ordinary operational systems. All except one. A registration number for one of the supposedly non-existent vehicles appeared in a parking complaint from a film production company 200 miles away. The complaint said a lorry carrying our branding had blocked an access road during an overnight shoot. The attached photograph showed the registration clearly. I called the production company and said I was investigating an incorrect vehicle allocation. Their transport coordinator remembered the incident because the driver had refused to move until a location manager threatened to call the police. The lorry belonged to a subcontractor called Merrick Fleet Services. Merrick was also the company receiving lease payments for the 8 disputed vehicles. I searched company's house. The registered office was an accountant's address. The sole director was a woman named Elaine Mercer, Daniel's sister. One of the missing lorries appeared in a parking complaint 200 miles away. The photograph showed our branding, but the vehicle belonged to a subcontractor receiving payments for all 8 disputed leases. I searched the company register and found the sole director. She had the same surname as my boss. The hidden motive was larger than avoiding embarrassment over a botched project. Daniel had redirected part of the vehicle contract through a company controlled by his sister. The additional vehicles allowed Merrick to collect lease and management fees, while the environmental rebate reduced the apparent cost to our company. The vehicles were not missing. They had never been intended for our depot. My name had been attached to the compliance submission because Daniel needed an approver with operational credibility and no direct connection to the procurement decision. Ruth had refused. I had not been given the chance. I still needed proof that Daniel knew about the family connection and had deliberately concealed it. A shared surname was suspicious, not conclusive. Then I remembered one of the earliest North Star presentations. Daniel had repeatedly referred to Merrick as an established supplier recommended by the procurement team. He claimed the relationship had been selected through a competitive process. The procurement manager who supposedly ran that process had been made redundant 2 months earlier. I called him. He laughed when I mentioned competitive tendering. There wasn't one, he said. Daniel instructed me to add Merrick after the lease package had already been selected. Did you object? I asked for a conflict declaration. What happened? He told me Elaine Mercer was no relation. Do you have that in writing? No, but I have the tender scoring sheet. He had taken a copy because he was preparing an employment claim over his redundancy. The sheet had 3 suppliers listed. Merrick's scores were added in a different font, and several cells contained formulas referencing a hidden worksheet. When he revealed the hidden sheet, it contained Daniel's initials and a note, just waiting to ensure MFS selection. It was still not perfect evidence. Spreadsheets could be edited. But combined with the approval notification, company registration, vehicle records, and submitted rebate timeline, it formed a coherent pattern. I proposed a plan. The board audit was scheduled for 10 the following morning. My disciplinary hearing was the next day. Daniel believed my access was suspended and that I had no way to enter the building. However, the audit invitation had originally been sent to my calendar when I was appointed. The external advisors' email addresses were still visible in the meeting details. I did not send them an accusation. I sent a short message stating that documents under review might incorrectly identify me as an approving officer before my appointment date. I attached the promotion announcement, the contract creation date, and the automated notification showing Daniel's account as the real approver. I copied internal legal counsel. Then I waited. At 8:15 the next morning, legal counsel called me. She asked whether I could attend the audit remotely. I said yes. She told me not to contact anyone else. At 10, I joined a video call containing the chief financial officer, 2 board members, external auditors, Daniel, HR, and legal counsel. Daniel looked as though he had not slept. The external auditor began with the North Star submission. He asked Daniel to explain why the named compliance officer had not formally occupied the role when the application was filed. Daniel said, "I had been performing the function informally for several months." I interrupted. "That is not true." He said I had reviewed fleet records as part of operations. I explained that reviewing vehicle availability was not the same as certifying regulatory compliance. The auditor asked whether I had approved the rebate application. "No." Daniel displayed a PDF bearing my name and employee number. For a moment, the meeting tilted in his favor. The document looked official. It contained a digital code. It had been submitted through the proper portal. Then legal counsel asked Daniel to share the original approval notification. He said it had been archived. The auditor said they had already obtained it from the system provider. The approving account belonged to Daniel. His expression emptied. He tried to argue that he had submitted the application on my behalf. The chief financial officer asked how he could submit something on behalf of a person who had not been appointed. Daniel said the appointment had been planned. I produced the first version of the promotion contract, created after the submission date. Then the auditor asked about Merrick Fleet Services. Daniel said it was an independent subcontractor. The auditor displayed the company registration showing his sister as director. Daniel claimed they were estranged and that he had not known she controlled the company. That was when the former procurement manager joined the call. Legal counsel had contacted him after receiving my evidence. He shared the tender spreadsheet. Daniel denied writing the hidden note. The auditor asked why the workbook's revision history showed edits from Daniel's corporate account. He had no prepared answer for that. The meeting continued for almost 3 hours. There was no dramatic confession. Daniel did not shout or threaten anyone. He became increasingly technical, arguing about delegation, supplier structures, provisional submissions, and whether operational use in another region still qualified as replacement activity. That was almost worse. He behaved as though the right collection of definitions could make the underlying conduct disappear. By the end of the call, the board suspended him pending an external investigation. The company withdrew the rebate application and notified the program administrator that its supporting records might be inaccurate. My promotion was withdrawn, so was the disciplinary hearing. I did not return to work immediately. The company placed me on paid leave while it investigated whether I had breached policy by copying files and contacting external auditors. For 2 weeks, I had no idea whether exposing Daniel had saved my job or merely changed the reason I would lose it. Ruth agreed to speak to the investigators after they confirmed that the company would not enforce her settlement agreement against her. The former procurement manager provided his original laptop for forensic examination. It recovered deleted versions of the North Star reports, including 3 that had carried Ruth's name before mine was inserted. They also found something I had not expected. Daniel had prepared promotion documents for 2 other employees. One was a transport supervisor, the other worked in finance. Each contract transferred historical responsibility for a different part of North Star. He had not chosen me because I was uniquely vulnerable. He had chosen 3 possible people and promoted whichever one seemed most likely to sign quickly. I happened to be first because HR believed I would accept the salary without questioning the wording. That detail bothered me more than the forged approval. Daniel had reduced us to risk profiles who needed the money, who trusted him, who had complained before. who would feel too grateful to read the contract carefully. The company eventually cleared me of deliberate misconduct, but issued a written warning for exporting documents after being told not to. I challenged it, but HR argued that the evidence did not erase the security breach. I considered resigning. Instead, I negotiated. I returned as an operations manager, not a compliance manager. My salary increased, though not by as much as the original promotion offered. My responsibilities were set out in writing, and I refused any clause assigning historical accountability. Daniel left the company before the external investigation concluded. The official announcement said he had resigned to pursue other opportunities. Merrick Fleet Services lost the contract. The company recovered part of the payments through a civil settlement, although the full details were confidential. The Environmental Rebate Administrator referred the submission to its fraud team. I never learned whether criminal charges followed. 6 months later, I received a connection request from Daniel on a professional networking site. There was no message. His profile listed him as an independent operational transformation consultant. For several minutes, I stared at the request, wondering whether it was arrogance, intimidation, or an automated suggestion. Then I noticed his new profile description. He specialized in helping companies establish clear accountability during periods of organizational change. I took a screenshot, declined the request, and closed the page. The promotion letter is still saved in my personal records. Sometimes I read the first paragraph, the one thanking me for my demonstrated commitment to transparency and responsible management. It is the most flattering thing Daniel ever wrote about me. It is also the document he intended to use to make me responsible for everything he had done.
You've been listening to Low Light Stories, original fiction for late night listening. New stories are added regularly, so subscribe if you'd like to hear the next one. Thanks for listening.